It's the 15th anniversary of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, so we here at Fright Night Friday want to look at a movie that we feel gets too much hate and isn't deserved. This movie stars Scout Taylor Thompson as Laurie Strode, Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis, Brad Dourif, Daniel Harris, Tyler Mame as Michael Myers, and many others. I have not ever heard anyone say good things about this movie. It has been a consistent stream of trash talk for the last 15 years. I think that people don't like the film because of how weird it is, and how it isn't a Halloween film in the traditional sense, except that Michael Myers is walking around killing people every once in a while. The movie is a homage to the burlesque cinema and exploitation grindhouse films of the 70s. If you approach the movie from that perspective, you may appreciate it more. If you know anything about Rob Zombie, his public persona, the characters he has played on stage with him, and the kind of movies he used to watch, it might help draw a portrait of the kind of movie he was trying to make here. Zombie is a fan of the old horror films of the 30s as well, so if I add in the horror films of that era with the drive-in films that were being released when the original Halloween debuted, as well as this film came out during the dark and nihilistic horror films between 9/11 and the rise of social media platforms such as this one, so that's how I approach this film. The first 25 minutes are pretty good and do a good job of being an homage to the original Halloween 2. I think this being a dream sequence put a lot of people off, and I will agree that while it was shot and performed well, that fact frustrated me because it felt like something was trying to pad out the runtime or felt like a giant bait and switch. I love this opening, but I hate it at the same time. I think this sequence is a great fan film, personally. Once Laurie wakes up and the screen says 2 years later, or in the case of the theatrical version, 1 year later, then the movie starts out being its own thing. I will be talking about the director's cut of Halloween 2 in this video because that is the version I think successfully pulls off Zombie's vision. In the last movie, Laurie shot Michael Myers point blank in the face, and they don't answer how he survived, so I can see that frustrating people, but come on, it's Michael Myers, what do you expect? Laurie does mention doing it during one of her therapy sessions, but it isn't followed up on any more than that. The movie then starts to become a character study way more than a slasher film. It's a study of a young boy who wants his family to be together again and a young lady who is unraveling just as her brother did. Dr. Loomis is studied as well in this movie because he has become a media whore because of Michael Myers. He wrote his story about him and now only sees the money, publicity, and sexual side of his success. He's a man who has willingly let go of all his principles about mental health and meeting the living embodiment of evil in favor of attention. This arc works well, except his wake-up moment happens very abruptly at the end. I think that one of the biggest things that people don't like about this movie is that you see Michael walking around unmasked for a large amount of the runtime. The mask of Michael Myers has become so synonymous with the character that I think it's impossible for people to not be disappointed when they see the illusion of the character is broken when he walks around in broad daylight maskless. But I feel that he is still that young child in mind who only cares about bringing his mother and sister back together with him as a happy family. The dichotomy between the way Laurie was in the last movie versus how she is in this movie is very riveting to me because I've always thought that there's a wonderful story to be told about a final girl who survives a slasher movie. This is one of the closest examples that I can think of that comes close to achieving that idea. Laurie is a goth and metal now. She can't stand the sight of Annie because she reminds her of the event that seemingly she can't ever forget. She knows that Annie is trying to help her but feels that no one can connect with her. Even though these two went through the same event, Laurie is having strange visions about a white horse and a tall blonde woman. She is completely disassociated, depressed, and thinks no one can help her. Of course, the movie is a slasher, so Michael Myers kills people. Like, he kills a lot of people in this movie, and the kills are really good. Sure, they're not done in the fun camp way that were done in the Halloween films before Zombie came on board, but they're good for the grindhouse form of horror, which is still what I think Zombie was going for here, personally. I will say that the only kills that break the flow of what Zombie was going for were the two kills at the party Laurie attends. I feel these kills were added later because we next see Michael at Sheriff Brackett's house. So yeah, the whole sequence with Laurie's friend in the van is a complete waste of time to me. I'm going to talk about the ending of this movie, so this is your spoiler warning, but if you clicked on this video, odds are that you've seen Halloween 2, so here we go. Again, we're talking about the director's cut because the theatrical cut is borderline incomprehensible, which is why I made this video. I think the real version needs to be seen by more people. Laurie being held by a young Michael that no one else can see resembles her last grip on sanity to me. Yes, it can be viewed as supernatural because Michael sees it too. But I just see this as brother and sister bonded by blood, both losing their minds, but maybe that's just me. Once Michael kills Dr. Loomis and gets gunned down, you see Laurie coming out with her brother's mask on, meaning that she has lost her sanity and has given in to her fate. That may come off as a very cynical disservice to the character to some, but I think that this version of Lori could succumb to the same fate as her brother because that kind of trauma is hard for any real person to live with. And if you feel that you have no help, then what is going to pull you back from the brink? This turn feels earned and real to me. Once she is gunned down by the sniper, and you can see that overhead shot of the three main characters on the ground dead, that should have ended the movie. Unfortunately, the last scene with Lori in the insane asylum is here. You could interpret it as all of it taking place inside of her mind and that she is succumbing to the insanity and love of her mother. And while I love how sinister Lori looks here, and also a wonderful performance here from Scout Taylor Compton, but yeah, this last scene shouldn't be here. I think that if you approach this movie as an exploitation film made in the 2000s about someone losing their sanity, then you might enjoy it. The first Rob Zombie film was about a young boy losing his sanity, and this one is about a young adult woman losing hers. I think this is the most original Halloween film since Halloween 3, if you don't count the evil creation idea of Halloween Ends. But we'll talk about that movie someday. Anyway, I say please check out Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It isn't perfect and has some things that I flat out dislike, but I think overall, Zombie made a good film. I think it is an underrated slasher classic and a top 4 Halloween movie for me personally. I give Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 3 stars out of 4. Thanks so much for watching this edition of Fright Night Friday. Let me know if I'm the only person who still likes this movie in the comments below. We also review silent films every Sunday and multiple new movies per week. So if you like this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next Friday for another edition of Fright Night Friday. Until then, I am Ghost.